So, I mean, I got into probably the gym when I was about 14. I was actually playing at professional clubs with soccer or football. And what happened was I had a couple of injuries and I spent a little bit of time in the gym there. Realized at that time that I was probably quite athletic, quite strong for the gym in general anyway. What happened was I spent probably the next 4 years or so like doing bits in the gym, but also I didn't quite make it professional football player. So what happened was I then sort of like came away from playing semi-professional and then just stopped football altogether. And that's where I really kind of got into the gym. So that was probably about 17, I would say, where I sort of like started properly, I would say.
How old are you now?
35, 36 next year.
Same. Well, a bit older than you.
So yeah, so best part of 20 years or so since I sort of picked up a weight really, and I did train from home for a little bit as well. So that was all good. And then basically I started my very first show at 22. So we did a natural bodybuilding show. I mean, I didn't really know anything about natural bodybuilding at the time. There was a guy in our gym who said, you should come along and watch this show. And we were like, oh, well, because I, just assumed that bodybuilding was what, front of what Flex magazine looked like, and was like, well, nowhere near this size. So maybe that's not really doable. And then basically what happened from there is that we went to watch a show and then realized that, okay, it's very doable. So I did my very first show at 22. That was the first year at juniors. So I won my qualifier in Scotland and then won the British finals that year in my first year. So that was quite a nice introduction to bodybuilding. And that actually is probably one of the reasons why I never really sort of crossed over into unnatural bodybuilding, is because I just was sort of good at straight out the gate, really. And then I sort of basically competed like 2 or 3 years on the trot. I had sort of years on, years off. Always placed very, very well in British final levels in the men's categories. So second twice in lightweights at 72 kilos or so. And then I turned professional in 2013. So I'd taken a 2-year off season, turned professional. Then I was obviously the natural pro. And then I've been won 2 world titles in 16 and 17 after a mixed bag of results the years before as a lightweight pro, and then came second in the overall twice, and then basically decided to do my first, which was an open show. It's not a natural show, but I was still a natural bodybuilder myself, and ended up winning winning my Class D in Classic and then the overall to win the IFBB Pro card. So that was 2020. So I did a pro show 2020. I came 13th out of 14, and then I did the Tampa Pro show this year in August, and I placed 14th out of 40. So that was a much better placing, but still 14th. So obviously for a natural, it's great. I'm still natural now, and very much on the fence with what I'm going to do moving forward. But for the time being, no plans as such to kind of do anything and go from there.
It's funny you mentioned that, because this would have been a question later, but I'm just going to get it right now. Why did you stick to natural bodybuilding, and why didn't you change to the other side? Because let's face it, there is a limit on natural bodybuilding, and maybe you haven't reached it yet, but you probably really close. And are you planning to move to the other?
Yeah, it's a very difficult decision, something that I've thought about long and hard, to be honest. The reason why, as I said, I sort of mentioned earlier, is that I sort of did really well out the gate, really. I mean, in 2013 and 2014, I competed in unnatural shows and won the one in 2013 and came second in a really big PCA show in 2014. So because Classic was introduced, it gave me a really good avenue with doing other shows. I mean, I did a Yorkshire Classic, which was kind of like a bit of a NABBA affiliate, and I won the overall at that show in open bodybuilding. So always coming in condition, obviously was always going to place well. So when I actually hit it on the mark, and I've been really up and down with it. When I've kind of been on the mark and on the money when I've needed to be, but I have done some shows where I've been way off as well. But I guess no one remembers them ones because you only sort of post the pictures up when you look decent, to be fair. So that was that really. But I mean, I guess it's still a decision I sit with every day at the moment, because it's a bit different. I think if I'd never won an IFBB Pro card, I would not be tempted in the slightest, because I think that, you know, from a health perspective, from a longevity perspective, from how my parents might view it, how, you know, all the people who I guess have, you know, followed me through natural bodybuilding, it's kind of, you know, you gain a level of respect, I guess, when the higher you go with natural bodybuilding.
It almost feels like a letdown, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. It's one of them. I mean, I'm actually not really too fussed about what people might think if I did, because I just think one door closes, another one opens, because you can't take away them achievements that I've done that naturally anyway, you know. And like, you know, when I won the Two Bros overall to win the IFBB Pro card, like I beat people who are like 70 pounds heavier than I was. So like, you know, your condition, shape, flow carries you a long way with that side of things. So every time like these results kept happening, where I kept doing untested shows and like winning or coming very close, it was always a reminder for me that I didn't really need to do anything, because it was like, look, you still progressed. I still progressed, you know, fortunately, even from like 22, from not really knowing what I was doing nutrition wise. I mean, I was eating 400 grams of protein a day and pretty much zero carbs, and I was in shape. Do you know what I mean? I was a British champion. Do you know what I mean? And so I kind of, like, I would say genetically kind of fluked my way for the first few years. Then I kind of found a bit of a formula and sort of when I won my pro card, and then that just continued to get better. So, I mean, I didn't really put on much scale weight each year, but my physique, you know, matured, and it got, you know, more dense, more quality to it. And it's only really this year that I've actually put on any scale weight over the last 10 years. I mean, I was about 75, 76 kilos on stage, and probably arguably one of the most conditioned in the whole show. So it was kind of like at Tampa. So, you know, that was, you know, that's what kind of got me into that second call out, first of all, even though the other guys were a lot bigger than I was. It was, you know, as I said, you know, good condition, good flow. So, so for me, it was like I said, it's always this sort of reminder now, like if I want to go and win an IFBB Pro show, I honestly don't think it's possible to do it naturally unless someone's got better genetics than I have. So there are people out there as well. There's a guy called Nathan Williams who probably would walk a classic show. Do you know what I mean? Like he's a overall natural champion as well. There's a few other guys I've seen who could probably do very, very well. Like in classic itself, I'm talking about, not in an open show. So there's that. I mean, it's probably possible. Maybe the right day, the right lineup, the right judges. But you know, it's one of them. But it's just it's one of them.
You know Greg Doucette?
Mm-hmm.
You heard of him?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Of course, you know, he's kind of done the same. You know, he was competing as a natural for, I don't know, 10, 15, if not more years. And then he switched to the, you know, to the IFBB, and then he started using PEDs and stuff like that. So, you know, and he's doing quite well. So I don't think it would give a letdown feeling to your career if you know, change it. But of course, yeah, that's a big step. And especially now knowing that even naturally, you're really nearly there. It's not like you're way smaller than the other guys. It's not like you're way less shredded than the other guys. It's just one step.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the level of tissue that I need on my frame, because I mean, I'm about 30 pounds under the weight cap for classic. So I've got physically 30 pounds of muscle I could put on shredded, and I mean 10 pounds I think would look crazy. I think 20 or 30 would just be a completely different physique altogether. And it's, you know, it's that realization that, you know, the guys who are beating me aren't more conditioned than I am. They're probably not a better shape than I am on most parts. Obviously, there are some guys who are very, very good. So that can carry me so far. And then I think that is just like, you then need, because if they're going to reward mass all the time over conditioning to a certain point, even if you're peeled out your brain, you know, that you're gonna need that tissue. And I don't think that, I mean, you know, for 2 pounds this year, doing absolutely everything right, like to the T for like a whole 12 months, you know, where like, you know, you don't miss a meal, you go to bed on time, you're training your ass off, training with people who are pushing you to your limits every single day. You know, food was higher going to a show, like that was all to get like 2 pounds of muscle. And yes, it's a very good looking physique compared to the year before when I won my pro card. It was a definite improvement. But I don't think I would get that improvement again this year. Do you know what I mean? Like if I was to go back on stage, I don't think I would get the same transition, you know? So I'm quite realistic, and I wouldn't say it's defeatist. I think it's just like, you know, if you want to win a pro show and you want to get to the Olympia, that's kind of the level you need to be on, to be honest.
And as far as I know, obviously I might be wrong, but you are currently the only natural athlete who competes in the IFBB. Am I right?
No, there might be a couple. Yeah, I know that there's definitely some men's physique guys. I know there's one. There's actually a guy who competes, Tory Washington, who was a men's physique guy, and he used to compete in open body, but he actually competed against me in the lightweights in 2016. He came fourth in that show, but he's still natural. He's like 45 years old, and he still competes in men's physique. Very good looking physique. Just same again, needs more tissue. So there's men's physique guys. There's a couple of classic guys. I believe there's no open guys or 212 guys. So so there might be the odd one. I know a lot of people will, like Quentin Beastwood turned pro naturally, and so did Keon. Yeah, so you know, so I do believe that Keon was probably one of them who was natural as well, because even though he didn't compete in, like the other, Quentin competed in natural feds, Keon didn't, but the size difference of then obviously maybe when he started doing stuff was kind of so night and day difference. Whereas, you know, maybe that, you know, maybe I'm one of the ones who's only maybe done a pro show natural. I don't know, as in that I know of, like personally, I guess, really. You know what I mean? So. But yeah, there probably is some other guys out there.
And when you decided to switch from, you know, the natural pro level to the IFBB pro level, why did you switch that? Is there any benefit of being an IFBB pro as a professional, as an athlete, as a coach?
100%. It brings you a I mean, I think it's the kind of the pinnacle really, and that's not to take away from natural bodybuilding for sure. But I just think that, like, you know, I mean, there is people who work their whole lifetime to get an IFBB pro card, you know, and I believe that, you know, it's to have that kind of badge on your kind of name, you know, it's probably you're going to open up more doors and avenues for coaching. Because people see that you're able to, it's like a degree, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's like having a top level degree of something. It shows that you're able to, you know what you're doing and all that kind of stuff, really. And I guess, you know, the IFB is, you know, still probably, you know, the most popular bodybuilding federation that there is out there. You know, you're going to get more notoriety. But the reason for doing it was just because it was a very high level of classics showing. I would have done a qualifier, but they did an open final. So that's why I ended up doing that show as it was because of COVID.
Yeah.
So they wasn't able to put on another show.
To be honest, it sounds really good to say that, you know, IFBB pro Robert Waterhouse. Oh, by the way, I think you are the only one who didn't put IFBB in front of your name on the Instagram or the Facebook. You know, everyone does that. That's how
I've got it on my Instagram. Yeah, I probably should update my Facebook one as well, I guess. Really.
Yeah,
but there really is Facebook anymore, to be honest. But yeah, it's one of them. So, but yeah, I think it was just the fact that it was like a high level classic show. I'd done some classic shows with the UKBFF and the PCA before previously. So that was one of the things. It was just to kind of have a first go at Two Bros anyway. So that was why.
And the thing is, the moment I put up your post that, you know, we're going to be doing this show later on, everyone started, you know, commenting that, oh, this guy's not natural. Oh, he's a fake natty. Yeah, I think it's, you get used to this.
I mean, I was probably used to that when I was 22. Do you know what I mean? It's I mean, you know, at the time, I think when I was younger, I was really defensive about it. You know, really defensive, kind of like, you know, if people would mention it on a night out, I would get quite, you know, annoyed about it and was like, you know, I am natural. But now it's like, I think when you reach a certain level in natural bodybuilding, it's like people can't fathom that you'd be natural, because especially if you're beating guys who are assisted and they're taking a lot of drugs, it's like there's no way on this planet he can be not taking anything and be better than I am. So, I mean, obviously you've got people there. I would say that, you know, I've got very elite genetics, but I don't think I've got, you know, the best genetics out there. I just think that is kind of like, for classic, it fits me very, very well because of like shape tie-ins and like muscle bellies and flow. It's like, it's not really that. I mean, I say I'm only a 75, 76 kilo guy, but it's the way everything
flows. How tall are you?
5'9", 5'8.5".
Oh wow! I'm 6'1", so you are actually tall. You're tall.
Yeah. I'm not short, but I nearly made it. So yeah. So it's one of them. I think that is just you kind of expect it. You kind of when you reach that kind of level, no one's going to be able to believe that. But they also haven't been. A lot of people haven't been training like that and competing like on and off for 20 years. It would be a bit different if I was like 20, and doing that maybe. But I think it's the time that it's taken over that period of time. You can see the progression on the physique as well, So.
And even I've been working out for 22 years, and I would say half of that naturally. And when I'm natural, means I'm off for years, not months. I'm talking about like 5, 6, 7 years. I'm still over 220, way over 220. And when I'm on even just TRT level, I'm way beyond like 250. So when people think, oh, you cannot be 220 naturally. First of all, I'm 6'1" or probably even 6'2". And second, I've been working out for 22 years. That's 22 years. Never missed a meal, never missed a workout. Unless you do the same, you cannot say like it's not possible. Well, it is, but you haven't been doing the same. But
I've had 2 clients this year who've come down from 260 pounds as natural bodybuilders. Do you know what I mean? Like both of them are very tall, very heavily muscled, and probably end up about 210 to 200 pounds on stage or so. So like a weight doesn't really mean much. The guys are in shape at 200, which people wouldn't be able to sort of go, well, you wouldn't think that's too unrealistic.
Yeah,
but I mean, especially like 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah, at 220 I look like a stick because I'm tall. So weight means nothing.